I recognize, yes. Yes, you're the next.
Let's put it up. Yeah. Yeah, I have a blue shirt on for tonight. I got a red shirt on for tomorrow, so. I can't find the yellow, so I gotta go buy some yellow tomorrow. Yeah, I would like to, first of all, disagree with just about everything this guy said. That's Mr. Calendar. He's supposed to be
Carrington.
Mr. Schoolmates, and I even forgot the man's name already. No, I don't know. Constitution mentions a political party with freedom of
Could you give your
association.
name for the record, please? We've been asking contributors to do that. I know your name, so can I call it then? Mr. R. Edwards, go ahead, sir.
I was going to sit back down before having to do that, but
Well, I've done it, so go ahead. And your voice
So no.
is recognizable.
Oh, is that
so
right?
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I've been told that so many times, but I have a neighbor with a similar voice, so I think we tend to get
But you
confused
used to
sometimes.
call me a lot on for 10 years.
No, but the Constitution talks about the freedom of association and stuff, and I'm sure somewhere in that line, that paragraph, they got the word political party mentioned specifically. All right? That is a mention of the political party in the Constitution. And all these lawyers inside here are not going to admit that. The Constitution does speak to the political party, okay? So I am sorry, my man, you are wrong. Dead wrong. Secondly, I'm not about majority rule or percentage, what do you call it? Proportional.
representation.
Democracy to me means of the people for the people. So whether it's majority or it's complete or just one person, you still got to talk about of the people for the people. I'm a producer. I manufacture stuff. And my representative is always on about Barbados' future is in services. Even my representative here before, same thing. Barbados' future is in services. How does that ever represent me? Because I'm being represented on a geographical basis. When since 1958, 52, it should have been recognized that people need to be represented based on their interests and not where they live. But somehow up to this day, when they start getting on with this damn thing, and that is why political parties are mentioned, because they only survive because people are represented based on this geographic thing. And what happens is you get into the lower house, and everybody arguing and talking big, whether it's 1570, 1560, or 30 love. And they're talking and they're trying to appeal to a speaker. But the speaker ain't got no power. The only power a speaker has is to shut somebody up, send them out, and yet they pass legislation. I want to be represented, but not because you're passing legislation that would hardly mean anything to me, because legislation only gets implemented if a chief of police decides, well, I will initiate or I will not. Otherwise, it's just will be observed in the breach, which normally happens when you're dealing with big ups and stuff. I want to be represented, and I want to be represented where it matters, and that is where money is spent. But that don't happen in the lower house. That even happen in the upper house. People arguing strong, arguing big, trying to appeal to a president who ain't got the power neither. So you got these two houses where people arguing big and having more talk than the next man to tell you something really impressive on television, trying to appeal to a person that has absolutely no power. The power resides in another house that I don't even know what the place looks like. I've never been into this room. Maybe my ex-representative would have been inside there. Maybe you've been inside there. It's called a cabinet. That's where all the power resides. And one person decides where that money is spent. Back in the day, this gentleman was prime minister, he used to walk with a black box. So it meant that not even the members of the cabinet knew what was in that black box. So that means only one person knows how and where the money is spent. Now, I don't know how you're going to have representation of someone like me who wants to vote for someone in a geographical location, who goes to speak in a house, lower house, that ain't got no power, who refers things up to our upper house that speaks to the president who ain't got no power, and all of a sudden somebody comes to a black box where money should be spent, and it don't come to me. But that representation of the people for the people means I should be represented as well. And the only way I will get represented is if I'm respected as an interest, special interest. I don't care about Westminster as far as I'm concerned as a colonial throwover. I don't care about the design of the Houses of Parliament because lawyers design them there. Me and lawyers don't get along. We never really get along. They design these parliamentary things and they're wearing all the fancy coats and they're talking real pretty. And at the end of the day, I get nothing. I need to be represented because I have a particular interest. Either I'm a manufacturer or a retailer. My next door neighbor is bringing beer car parts and stuff. And if you start importing things that I manufacture, we're going to have a problem. But then I can't go and tell my representative, my lady, my next door neighbor is working against my interests. I need somebody who will represent me as a manufacturer, Somebody will represent him as a retailer or a vendor or whatever it is that he does. And those are the lines that should be, that is how this thing should have been designed in the first place. You can tinker all you want. If you have a bad design, all you'll be doing is trying to improve on a bad design, and you still end up with a bad design. If the premise is wrong, anything that follows is going to be just as bad. I am sorry. I think a Barbadian should be wise enough to recognize that the different interest groups have sufficient power, sufficient responsibility to decide for themselves who will represent them. Not a political party. The teachers should decide who should sit in cabinet as the head of the Minister of Education. Defense and security, all the people, the policemen and the soldiers should get together and determine for themselves who should be the Minister of Defense and Security. Cultural industries, health people that drive ambulances and stuff. In fact, the people that drive ambulances should have 2 votes. One for the Minister of Health and one for the Minister of Transport. So they get 2 votes. I'm a person who is when I'm laughing at that, that don't make sense. I would like very much to be involved with what do you call these things now? The shoreline and the turtles and the preservation, environmental things. I am involved with those kind of things too, so I should get a second vote. I should be able to vote for the person who represents the environmental issues, the blue economy and that kind of things. Not a political party. Political parties are designed as a group of people who are only there to win an election. Not because they're going to set up policies. They will tell you what they have to tell you to win an election. They will do what needs to be done. And to my mind, if you're going to speak about a code of ethics, every member in this house is a member of a professional group. I know a lot of the faces inside here. And they should be guided by the code of ethics that are determined by the professional association that they're associated with. The law profession has about 10 pages of code of ethics going on. They tell these lawyers how they should dress, even. They tell them how they should behave with the wives. That's how strict these things are. When you are in your private lives, you have to behave a certain way. It's ridiculous, but it controls you. It's the most controlling piece of, and in fact, it's legislation too, by the way. And my argument is, and it has always been, with these guys here, I'm sorry, but in reality, the code of ethics determine lawyers are supposed to be the ultimate. That's how strict these codes of ethics are. And they are not supposed to be involved with any kind of association where the integrity could be brought into question. And you got this political party whose only reason to be on this earth is to win the election, and they will get money from A, B, C. You don't know who these people are? You don't know who they are? They even got from government, probably from China. One time it was from Hong Kong and China at the same time. You don't know how, when, how much, or anything. And they keep that secret from the public. And there is no dictionary in the world that could say that I am wrong in saying that that is unethical in behavior. You've taken money from all of these people to win an election, and lawyers should be involved with that there. That is unethical. Accountants should not be involved with them there. That is unethical behavior. And because the code of ethics is, I believe it is coded in law, right? The code of ethics of the lawyers are considered law. If a lawyer is involved with a political party that borrowing money from all over the place and telling the body where it is, it should be illegal for them to be part of that activity. But yet, here we are. And we arguing these little fine details and fine changes. I just seek to be represented because I have a special interest and not because I live in a particular geographic location. And I think I've just said that this parliamentary design is total and complete waste of time. Mr. Barrow, Sir Errol, right honorable, excellent, became independent in 1966. He severed control. He probably had to answer to a governor. And from 1966, he answered only to himself. Sir Errol, or excellent Errol Barrow, became independent, not me. Not nobody else inside there. One person became independent. And that followed on from that point up to this day. So if you're moving from independence to republic, that don't change anything. We got to change the process to a way that means something, of the people, for the people. Not majority rule, not proportional, just of the people, for the people. And people, to my mind, represent interest groups, not geographic location. That's insulting. No, I just breathe once, so let me breathe a little bit. Thank you very much.
While you breathe, thank you very much. I know how passionate you get on these matters, but so having said that, and understanding the terms of reference of this commission, what really would you want to see us do? I've heard you in terms of your feeling about what democracy ought to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if you had to say 2 or 3 things that we should do? What is your position on our task, essentially?
I mean, what you possibly can do for this point moving on, based on what I've said, because I mentioned the same thing back to Mr. Branca back in 1992 or something. And his response was, you know, I've been through all these constitutions, and I've never seen this thing mentioned before. I mentioned this thing at a law guy that came in, an expert, about 4 months ago at UWI. He was speaking about all these various constitutions about the workplace. And I said to him very simply, why can't teachers determine who their own minister is? Is that a problem? Why can't cultural specialists determine who them? And he says,
How would that work?
But you just do it. I mean, I do not care how the teachers get done. They might decide, okay, I got to put everybody in there. You want to run, put a boxing glove on. Whoever wins the fight, you can determine. It's up to them to determine how they get their person up inside there. So I can't tell them, is their own, a policeman may decide, let me go for the best marksman. Whoever or however it is done, when they get to determine who their person is, that's their business. That is not mine. But then when you get all of these big men and women around the table, they will have to determine around. Of course, you can need a head of state. Of course, you can need somebody who will determine at the end of the day, well, you know something, I think you're being unreasonable here. You need somebody that can manage people with big egos. Not somebody who could talk pretty in public. People who know how to manage. When these guys get to the table, they're going to have the biggest possible egos available. But this person who is the head of state, because the Queen of England is supposed to be head of state, but she really has no power now. But this person, oh, I'm sorry, it's a he now, I'm sorry. You know, I mean, when you live with somebody all your life and all of a sudden that person disappears, you can forget that the person gone. So, you know, bear with me. She's still here as far as I'm concerned. She's been around for a long time.
I think Dr. Chandler wants to ask you a question.
I thought it was
sir.
clear. You asked the question still? All right, go on.
You were clear.
Thank you very much.
I really do understand what you're saying.
Oh, you do? I'm glad to hear that.
I heard
Thanks.
all of the propositions you had in there. So,
Good. Okay.
you know, one country that doesn't have a system kind of like yours is the Republic of Ireland, where, for example, the universities get to elect senators to represent the community, and different communities get to do the same there. So it's not geographic, but interest. But in your case now, you're speaking about cabinet where you see the power lying for you, and you want a situation where various ministries, because they basically manage interests, you have people who are beneficiaries of those ministries elect the people who will be heading the policy element, the ministers for those.
Correct. And they're paid a stipend, not a salary, by the way.
Well,
they're not executive, they're just board members.
oh, okay. Just,
So it will cost us less.
no, so for curiosity's sake, so I understand all that, so I don't really have any questions on that, but since you mentioned the stipend, what would the stipend be?
Well, you know, let them fight it out. That's not my boy. You want every detail from me? I give you the broad parameters. The details you can work out.
hear
You know.
I've heard you over the years with Dennis Johnson. May he rest in peace. And
You sure it's me? I got a neighbor with the same voice. I keep saying.
It might be somebody else, you know.
No,
And,
but
so I just, because we have to basically solicit from the public, you know, their ideas. So if you had like a general figure in mind, what would it be?
oh, you mean for the stipend?
Yeah.
I don't know. When Pine Hill Dairy had their little thing going, I think the directors had. You were on the board. Pine Hill Dairy was like $260 per meeting or something, and they met once every 2 or 3 months. Basically, lunch money and transportation.
Okay, I will take the substantive point that you made and
Yeah,
leave it there, right?
because the policy is what is important, not so much your salary. You know, you want to do the best, and you're already being paid anyhow. In fact, I tell you the truth. I just didn't mean to cross you like that. It may very well morph into a process where each interest group will start to pay perhaps someone to be the lobbyist that sits on the board. So that person will draw a big salary, but not the taxpayers' money. That will come from the interest group. Taxpayers won't be burdened with that kind of $14,000 a month foolishness.
Well, thank
Is there any country that even foster that?
His loyalty will lie with the people he represents. But come on, man. I think that people can get beyond the money thing, man. But I'm wearing a blue shirt, so I got to agree with everything you say right now.
Thank you very much.
Good. Okay, thanks, Stu.
Mr.
Yeah.
Edwards. Are there any others? There's a hand at the back.
Thank you.
On that note, I think, thank you very much. I think you've made some important. Mr. Edwards wanted to respond, and then the gentleman here in yellow. And if I don't recognize you, I'm fairly nearsighted, so. But I know his voice.
Just very quickly, he should be saying that that the interest groups will be too far and difficult to manage and stuff. Right now, the Prime Minister determines how many interest groups there are in Barbados. Usually, from the time I was born, there were about 9 to 12 ministers in government. This one chose 26 and then reduced it to 25. Never before in the history of mankind has there been so many ministers in any one cabinet. But I believe that we need only maybe 14 interest groups that could easily manage everybody else. So it's not by law, people. You have about 15 different churches that could all come together and decide they can have one minister of religion. You know, even the Rasta people could decide in that group, right? So there's no point having a large number of interest groups. You can have 15, 14, 12 max, and then you could determine they can have subgroups and subgroups going down. And everything that my friend spoke about, she's still speaking about geographic constituencies, and as you realize, it gets so complex, and you need to get oversight and different kinds of committees going down, and, you know, Sir Richard said, you know, we're going back in the past. It's because you're dealing with the geographic thing again. When you're dealing with interest groups, you ain't got to worry about that foolishness. And interest groups can pay their own people. You ain't got to worry about taxpayers paying them. So to my mind, mine is easier, it's implementable, and it is Barbadian, as far as I'm concerned, even though I'm born somewhere else, but that's okay. That's my business, man.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Next.